There and Snack 39s, an image from Pompeii that almost everyone has seen at some point, even if they didn't at Snack 39. T know they and Snack 39D seen it. An adult, seated, a child on their lap, both frozen forever in the same posture, the same instant, nearly 2,000 years ago. They and Snack 39, re-wearing a gold bracelet. That and Snack 39's why this house got its name, the House of the Golden Bracelet. For generations, tour guides, textbooks and documentaries have told the same story in front of this exact cast. A mother, holding her child, in the last second before death. In 2024, a team from Harvard, the University of Florence and the Max Planck Institute put something into that cast no one had ever put in before. A needle capable of pulling DNA from bone fragments trapped inside the plaster for a century and a half. What they found wasn't a Nathac 39, T a mother. And the child wasn't a Nathac 39T her child either, and that wasn't a Nathac 39T by a long shot. The only family this story invented. On August 24th in the year 79, according to the account of a witness named Pliny the Younger, Vesuvius erupted with a violence no nearby city was prepared to understand. Pompeii was buried under layers of ash, pumice, and finally a cloud of scorching gas that moved faster than anyone could run. Those who couldn't and #39 T flee died almost instantly. Their bodies were covered. Over time, flesh and tissue decomposed, leaving cavities with their exact shape inside the hardened ash. The city stayed buried for nearly 17 centuries. It was rediscovered by accident in the 18th century, and for decades excavation was careless. The priority was finding valuable objects, not understanding people. That changed with an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli, who in the 1870s had an idea that would forever transform how the world sees Pompeii. If those cavities in the ash held the exact shape of the bodies that had vanished, why not fill them with plaster? It worked, and the result was something no archaeologist had ever produced before. Not bones, not ashes, but the exact silhouettes of people at the moment of death. The folds of their clothing, the posture of their arms, expressions, as far as plaster could capture them. On some casts, you can even make out the outline of an eyelid. Pompeii stopped being just ruins. It became something closer to a photo album of death itself, frozen at the precise instant. And as tends to happen when something is this visual and this human, people started telling stories about what they saw. Not because they had evidence, because the images demanded it. Fiorelli didn't an #39, he just invent a technique. Without meaning to, he also invented a narrative. When two bodies were found embracing in a house, someone decided they were two sisters, saying goodbye in their final moment. When an adult was found with a small child on their lap, someone decided it was a mother. Neither interpretation came from a document, an inscription, anything the Pompeians themselves had left behind. It came from what seemed logical to someone in the 19th century, looking at those postures through the eyes of their own era. And here in #39's the interesting part. That 19th century logic never went away. It stuck. It made its way into textbooks, into postcards, into television documentaries, generation after generation, without anyone seriously questioning it. For 150 years, millions of visitors walked past those casts and heard, almost word for word, the same story. A mother protecting her child until the very end. What almost no one knew is that inside those plaster casts, trapped since the 19th century, real fragments of human bone still existed. The Pompeians themselves, in miniature, waiting inside their own statue. For a century and a half, those fragments couldn't and #39 be analysed without destroying the cast that held them. The technology simply wasn't an #39T there, and no one was willing to sacrifice one of the most photographed pieces of archaeology in the world just to confirm what already seemed obvious, until a restoration project finally opened a crack. Before we get to the DNA, it and #39's worth properly meeting the family this story invented. because it wasn't an Hack 39 T2 people. It was 4. In 1974, archaeologists working in the House of the Golden Bracelet found on the ground floor a hidden space beneath the stone staircase. Inside, the remains of 2 adults and 2 small children. One of the 2 adults was wearing that bracelet of solid gold, a piece so striking it ended up naming the entire house. That same adult was holding one of the children on their lap. From there, 19th century logic did the rest. Jewellery plus a maternal posture in the imagination of the time could only mean one thing. That was the mother. The other adult then had to be the father, and the 2 children, their kids. A whole family, trapped beside the staircase of their own home. That image, father, mother, 2 children, dead together under a staircase, became one of the most emotionally used postcards of all Pompeii. It appears in documentaries, in school textbooks, in tourist guides in dozens of languages. It and hashtag 39's probably one of the Pompeii stories that has made the most visitors cry over the past century. The problem is that until 2024, no one had been able to check whether it was true. That changed a few years ago. A team led by researchers from Harvard, the University of Florence, and the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology developed a way to extract ancient Dina without breaking the casts the world has admired for a century and a half. They took advantage of the fact that 14 of Pompeian Slack 39's 86 most famous casts were, at that exact moment, undergoing restoration. Through cracks and natural damage in the plaster, they were able to reach bone and tooth fragments without breaking anything. The samples were in poor condition. Mixed with plaster, fragmented, fragile, working with them was, in the authors and hashed 39 own words, like trying to read a book falling apart in your hands. But they pulled it off. They started with the staircase family, the adult with the bracelet, holding the child, the other adult, the 2 little ones. The Dina result was, in their own words, decisive. The adult with the bracelet was, biologically, a man. And between that man and the child he was holding, there was no genetic relationship at all. None. He wasn't hashtag 39 T her mother. Nor was he, in the biological sense always assumed, the father of the other children. One of the adults, listed in the study in hashtag 39's records as individual 50, could only be analysed through mitochondrial Dina, the part of the genome passed down exclusively through the maternal line. And that analysis showed he didn't, in hashtag 39, to share that maternal line with any of the other 3. That doesn't, hashtag 39, necessarily mean there was no relationship between them at all. The scientists were careful to note that a connection through other genetic lines can at NAC 39T be ruled out. But the simple emotional image of a nuclear family, a mother and father with their 2 children, doesn't at NAC 39T hold up against what the Dina allows us to say. So who were they to each other? Dina can and at NAC 39 tell us that. They can only tell us who they were NAC 39T. The second case, from the House of the Cryptoporticus, was if anything even more revealing. Those specific casts, catalogued as number 21 and 22, were made in 1914, over a century ago. 2 bodies embracing in what generations of historians and guides called, interchangeably, and quote, the 2 sisters, and quote, sometimes a mother and daughter, or even a pair of lovers. The Dina determined that at least one of the 2 was biologically male. The genetic determination of the second individual wasn't hashtag 39 fully conclusive, but what was ruled out, with confidence, was the sisters' hypothesis: they did not share a maternal line. 2 people, embracing in their final moment, for reasons we will likely never know for certain, but not the reasons we and hashed 39D been telling, almost without question, for 110 years. Harvard geneticist David Reich, one of the study and hashed 39's authors, put it plainly when the results were published. What we saw in those casts, he said, was never evidence. It was projection. We looked at human postures and without realising it. filled in the gaps with the family we ourselves expected to see. Ittenhashk-39's an uncomfortable idea if you stop to think about it. For 150 years, it wasn't Ittenhashk-39, the Pompeians telling their own story. It was us, projecting onto their frozen bodies what our own era considered a normal family. A man, a woman, their children. Jewellery, automatically tied to femininity. A body near a child, automatically read as maternal. Dina had no obligation to match that expectation. And it didn't #39T. There and #39, a second finding from the same study, less dramatic in headlines but just as important to archaeologists. 3 of the 4 individuals in the staircase family carried genetic ancestry connecting to the Eastern Mediterranean or North Africa. And, more broadly, the entire Pompeian population sampled in the study derived largely from relatively recent immigrants from the Eastern Mediterranean, the same pattern already observed in Imperial Rome itself during the same period. The researchers even managed to reconstruct, from the Dina, some physical traits the adult with the bracelet had, according to that genetic analysis: black hair and dark skin. Stephen Ellis, an archaeologist at the University of Cincinnati who wasn't #39, involved in the study, summed it up when the results were published. This lets us start imagining a far more cosmopolitan city than we used to think. Archaeology had already hinted at this, through food, names, jewellery found at the site, that Pompeii was diverse. But Dina, Ellis said, adds a level of certainty no other evidence could provide. Pompeii wasn't an #39, a small homogeneous town in southern Italy. It was, like much of the Roman Empire of its time, a crossroads. Today those casts sit exactly where they always have. The gold bracelet is still on the same arm. The posture hasn't an #39 shifted a millimetre. Visitors still walk past, most of them still unaware the story they in Act 39 were about to be told has just changed. And Act 39's no longer a mother and her child. In 39's no longer 2 sisters. In 39's not even any longer a whole family beneath a staircase. They in Act 39 were people, 3, 4 depending on the case, whose real relationships we in 39LL probably never fully know, because Dina can tell us, with real confidence, who someone was in #39. It can in #39 always tell us who they truly were to one another. Of Pompeian #39's 86 most famous casts, this study could only analyse 14. 72 are still out there, waiting their turn, each one carrying a story assigned by someone in the 19th century who never had any way to check it. It in #39's very likely that in the coming years we in #39LL keep discovering that other stories we took as fact were in #39 true either. What becomes clear here is something bigger than Pompeii itself. Every time we look at the past and think we see a family, a couple, a story of love or sacrifice in #39's, worth asking how much of that is evidence, and how much is simply what we expected to find. The ash of Vesuvius froze their bodies forever, at the exact instant of their death. But the stories we layered on top of them, those we wrote ourselves 150 years later. And for all that time, they were wrong. Every bloodline tells the truth. Even when the story we were telling didn't #39, want to hear it.